Attention passionate Atlanta, Falcons fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC South and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Atlanta Falcons' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Atlanta Falcons fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Atlanta, FALCONS FANS. Let's get to the news. Now folks, I have to tell you, the NFL offseason has been buzzing with rumors, surprises, and major shakeups. But one story that's really catching everyone's attention right now involves a potential blockbuster trade that could reshape the NFC South. And more specifically, it could dramatically alter the Atlanta Falcons' future prospects. And no, I'm not talking about some minor move or a simple player swap. We're talking about the Miami Dolphins, a team that's been trying to find their rhythm, and a player that's been at the center of all this speculation, Tyreek Hill. You see, the Miami Dolphins enter the 2025 season with, let's be honest, a pretty wide range of possible outcomes. On paper, they look dangerous. If Tua Tagovailoa stays healthy, which has been a concern before, and if Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle can return to their top form, then Miami can absolutely be a playoff team that's a real threat in the AFC. But here's the catch, there's a long list of ifs that need to go right. The offensive line has to hold up, the secondary has to elevate their game beyond what the stats suggest, and most importantly, Tyreek Hill has to be at his best. Because last season, Tyreek's play took a noticeable step back. That's right, his production dipped, and you could see how much the Dolphins' offense suffered without him firing on all cylinders. But here's the twist. The big question hanging over Miami is, will Tyreek Hill still be in their uniform come playoff time? Because, folks, the rumors about a trade have been swirling since the end of last season, and Tyreek himself has added fuel to that fire with some comments on social media and interviews. Nothing concrete has happened yet, but the whispers are loud enough, especially considering Miami's current situation as a franchise. And that's where things get really interesting for us Falcons fans, because one of the most talked about scenarios suggests that Tyreek Hill might be heading to Atlanta. Yes, you heard that right. A trade that would see Hill in a Falcons uniform, and in exchange, the Dolphins could land Darnell Mooney along with a third-round pick. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, is that even realistic? Well, according to some NFL insiders, like Moe Motton from Bleacher Report, this isn't just wishful thinking. He argues that the Falcons should be proactive, especially considering their division rivals like Tampa Bay, who's still a formidable threat with their own offensive firepower, and with Atlanta's young quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. On a rookie deal, adding a receiver like Hill could be exactly the move they need to accelerate their offensive development. Hill, with his game-breaking speed and ability to stretch the field, would fit perfectly with Drake London and Kyle Pitts, giving Atlanta a truly explosive aerial attack. Think about it, with Hill's speed, London's versatility, and Pitts' matchup nightmare potential, opposing defenses would have nightmares trying to contain that trio. But here's the thing, while this sounds like a fantasy come true for Falcons fans, it's important to remember that it's still a long shot. Miami's GM, Chris Grier, has publicly stated that he's not interested in trading Hill. And if you look at the trade negotiations historically, Miami's asking price for Hill would be astronomically high. They value him immensely, given his playmaking ability, and the fact that he's still under contract for 2 more seasons on a 3-year, $90 million deal. That's not chump change, folks. So, for the Falcons to get Hill, they'll have to bump up their offer significantly. Maybe more than just Darnell Mooney and a third-round pick. Perhaps a combination of future draft picks or an additional player, the kind of package that Miami would consider seriously. And let's not forget, Tyreek Hill isn't just some high-profile receiver. He's one of the most prolific deep-threat receivers in NFL history. His ability to turn any catch into a touchdown and change the momentum of a game in a flash makes him a game-changer. Last season, though, he didn't quite reach the heights we're used to seeing, and that's why speculation about a trade has gained momentum. It's natural for teams to reevaluate their roster if they're not getting the production they need, especially with a player of Hill's caliber. Now, the Dolphins' offense has shown flashes of brilliance with Hill, but last year was a reminder that when he's not at his best, their entire scheme can struggle. The question is, will Miami be willing to part ways with a player who, when in top form, is one of the most dangerous weapons in the NFL? And honestly, if the Dolphins get off to a rocky start, it wouldn't be shocking to see their front office consider trading him to rebuild or retool for the future. But on the other hand, they might want to hold on to him and see if they can recapture that top-tier form that made him a household name. Now for us Falcons fans, this is an incredibly exciting, albeit uncertain, scenario. Adding Tyreek Hill would instantly elevate Atlanta's offense to a new level. It would give quarterback Michael Penix Jr. a true game-breaker, someone who can make defenses pay with a single step. And with the talent already in place like Drake London and Kyle Pitts, the Falcons could seriously become one of the most dynamic teams in the league on offense. It's the kind of move that says, we're here to contend, and we're not holding back. But remember, this isn't just about adding a star. It's about the strategic fit, the negotiations, and whether Miami is willing to part ways with one of their most explosive players. Moreover, let's look at the bigger picture. The NFC South is still very much up for grabs. Tampa Bay remains a threat with their veteran leadership and offensive firepower, but the division is wide open. Atlanta, with their young core and now potentially adding a player like Hill, could position themselves as serious contenders sooner rather than later. The question is, do they have enough assets to make a competitive offer? And how will this impact the division's balance of power? Because if Atlanta pulls this off, it's not just a win for their roster, it's a message to the entire league that the Falcons are serious about competing now, not just in the future. And speaking of the future, it's also worth noting that Tyreek Hill has 2 years left on his contract, meaning he's not a short-term rental. If Atlanta were to acquire him, they're not just getting a one-season boost, they're adding a player who can be a centerpiece of their offense for years to come. That kind of stability and star power could be exactly what Atlanta needs to finally push over the top and make a real deep playoff run. Because let's be honest, the Falcons have been building steadily, but they need that extra element, that game-changing talent that can shift the momentum in critical moments. Hill is precisely that kind of player. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, well, what if Miami decides to keep Hill and go all in this season? That's a fair point. But with the NFL being the league of volatility, injuries, and unexpected turnarounds, nothing is set in stone. The Dolphins could see the writing on the wall if their season doesn't start as planned, and then we might see a major move like this happen unexpectedly. For now, though, it's all speculation. But one thing is for sure, the possibility of Tyreek Hill heading to Atlanta is a story that's gaining serious traction, and it's one that could completely reshape the NFC South landscape. In the end, whether this trade happens or not, it highlights just how competitive and unpredictable the NFL offseason can be. Teams are always looking to upgrade, to find that missing piece that can take them to the next level. For the Falcons, acquiring a player of Hill's caliber would be a statement move, signaling that they're ready to contend now, not just in a few years. It's a move that could define their season, their division, and perhaps even their franchise's trajectory for years to come. And as fans of the Atlanta Falcons, we're all sitting here watching, waiting to see if this rumor turns into reality. Because if it does, it's going to be one of the most exciting developments in recent NFL history. And now, Atlanta Falcons fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Do you think Tyreek Hill will end up in Atlanta? Would you trade Darnell Mooney and a third-round pick for him? Or do you believe the Dolphins will hold on to their star receiver and make another run this year? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Atlanta Falcons. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Atlanta Falcons news. This offseason is shaping up to be one of the most thrilling in recent memory, and I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Thanks for being with us, and as always, go Falcons!